So for this video, I'm going to walk you through the previous two tasks that you ran, where you use the mutate function to create some new columns to answer some questions. So the first task had us answering the question, which county had the biggest jump in cumulative case rate between July and August. So what we're looking for here is, can we identify the places that had the largest jump in absolute terms over the past month or so for the period we've been looking at the data. For our reporting purposes, this may help identify some locations where we might want to go or make some calls to use it as a focus for what's happening right now with the outbreak. So I'm just going to run you through the code I wrote and you ran. So we created a new object called COVID County July-August change. And what did we assign to that object? Well, we started with the COVID County monthly case rate table. We selected only the columns we needed to actually do this calculation. So that is county and state, plus the July value for case rate, cases per 1,000, plus the same thing for August. And then we created a new column using mutate. The name of the column we wanted to create was July-August change. And what are we putting in July-August change? Generally what we're doing when we're mutating is we're taking a value in one or more existing columns and modifying it in some way, writing a function. In this case, we're using simple subtraction, where we're subtracting the July value from the August value. So we have this new column that's now in our data called July-August change, and then we're sorting based on that. So we're saying put the highest July-August change at the top and everything else below. So when we run that, it spits out here, and the columns are truncated a little bit, but we'll click over in a second to see it. So we have county and state. We have our July values and our August values. Those are all values in our original data frame. Then when we click over, we have this new value that was created from these two columns. It's called July-August change. So for Lafayette, Florida, the change between July and August was 126 people per 1,000. We got that value by subtracting this 11 in July from this in August. We did something similar when we computed the percent change. And we do this just so we can hold constant counties that may have had smaller outbreaks in July relative to the outbreak in August, that will allow us to compare a little bit more cleanly. So the formula for percent change, right, is new minus old divided by old. So we're going to take the August value to calculate this, subtract July, and then divide all that by July. So the code here does that, right? We created a new object called COVID County July-August percent change. And what did we put in that object? Well, we started with COVID County monthly case rate. We selected only the columns we would need to do that calculation. Then we mutated to create a new column called July-August percent change. But instead of just subtracting July from August here, we did one additional step, which was to divide that by July to get the percent change. And now when we sort it, we get July-August percent change, sorting on our newly created column to get that the highest values at the top. So when we run that, we get something interesting here, right? We get a bunch of infinities. We got a bunch of infinities here as a value for this because we started at 0 and ended with, these are places that had essentially no outbreaks at all in July and then had some value in August. Because the percent change formula has us dividing by July, when you divide by 0, you get infinity. It's just not something it can do. So these were big jumps, but there's not really a meaningful way to rank those. But if we click down, we finally get to our first one, which was Michigan, this county in Michigan, which is Luce County, Michigan, went from 0.62 per 1,000 in July to 19 in August, which was essentially a 29x increase, or 2,900%. So that's the answer to that question. I just want to show you a couple other things that you might do with mutate, just to give you a sense of how else it might be used. In future videos, I'll show you there are indeed other ways to create new columns beyond just mutate, including when we're calculating summary statistics as another. There's another method entirely, but I'll show you just a couple things here. Other ways we might use mutate. These are not things you have to do for this video, but again, I'm trying to give you a sense that there are going to be additional things that you can do beyond what we're introducing in this class, and it's really just a matter of going out to look for it. So I want to give you a sense there's more out there. So one very common thing is we can use mutate to create copies of columns or rename them certain things. So just a very simple example of that, I'm going to create a new object called test mutate. This is just for us to work here. And then I'm going to start with our COVID County monthly case rate data frame. And then I am going to mutate to create a new column, and I'll just call this column state name, and I will set it equal to the value that's in state. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit the play button here, and in my environment window I'm just going to click to open it, and you'll see now I basically have created a copy of our state column. It contains the same exact information that is now duplicated here. So just a very simple, if you need to make copies of columns, and as we go forward in the future, there may be reasons where you would do something like this. There's some value there. If I select, so county, state name, here's kind of a new thing too. We can then say put all of the other columns after it. So this is what's called the everything function. It's going to reorder it so I can look at it a little more closely. So now you can see I've got my state and state name next to each other. That's one example for why you might do it. Another thing you could do would be to create a column that say strips out something from a column. So as we saw in our video above, when I showed you how to fool around with string detect to filter out only those columns that contain the word city. So why don't we try that? So I'll do string detect county, and then the pattern I'm looking for is city. And I'm just going to run just this part of it by going up to run. So now we have all of these things that contain the word city. So let's imagine that I wanted to create a new column just called city name, in which I'm stripping out the word city from here. So a thing I might do in that case would be to mutate, create a new column called city name, and I would set that equal to, and there's another string function we could use, and again, I'm not asking you to remember this, I'm not asking you to put this into practice in this lab. I'm just trying to give you a flavor for some things that might be coming down the road, just some additional methods you might be able to do. So string remove. The thing I'm going to remove from the string from the column that's called county is the word city. And then I'm going to select county, city name, state name, and everything. So when I run this, state name does not exist. Well, that's because I didn't make it in this. So I'm going to take that out. So now we look at our data. What I've got is my original data, original column that had the word Baltimore City in it. But I also have this new column where I've just stripped out the word city. So mutate comes into play a lot when we're doing data cleaning exercises. We'll get more into that as we go forward. Sometimes you can even say overwrite the name of the column that you have in your data set using mutate, and there are reasons you might do that. But again, this is just to give you a flavor of it. These are not things you need to remember. For now, just have a general sense that in the future there may be some additional things that you could look up. Okay, I'm going to stop this video. Keep going down the lab. We've reached the point where you're going to do some exercises on your own, and then you're going to submit.